welcome to another 31 Days of Horror 2020 video. Leslie is not here. She and James have gone to bed already. But we did watch her pick. She wanted to watch this movie. And that's Fantasy Island. Yes, the film based, I guess it's based off of the television show. And yeah, I guess you might say it's dark Fantasy Island, really. It's not the Fantasy Island I remember growing up with. The film is directed by Jeff Wadlow, who was a producer on Truth or Dare. He was a writer on Kick-Ass 2 and True Memoirs of an International Assassin. He's also a producer on Bates Motel. So he, has had some steps into genre and stuff like that. But in terms of directing, the only thing I could think of outside of Truth or Dare that he had been in was Cry Wolf, which is a film I have downstairs, but I haven't seen it yet. Maybe we will check it out in a future 31 Days of Horror. Who knows? But yeah, essentially this film is, if you saw Fantasy Island, it's all about, going to this island and having your fantasy, fulfilled, whatever, wildest fantasy comes true. So this island is looked over by Mr. Rourke, played by Michael Pena. Yes, Michael Pena of so many comedies, as well as American Hustle and Crash, End of Watch. He was in Ant-Man, again playing, comedic sidekick type stuff. He was in Extinction. But for me, what the most recent thing that I saw that I would recognize, identify him with is Chips, which is, is also a film adapted from an old television series that happened around the same time as Fantasy Island. In this film, a bunch of people obviously are flown in on de-plane, but they don't say de-plane. They say the plane's here. A little disappointing. I was kind of hoping for it. And out of that, there are several guests who end up at the island, including Gwen Olsen, played by Maggie Q, who was in Live Free or Die Hard, but most people will probably know her from the Divergent series if you followed any of that preteen, tween, movies, books, and such. Along with her is Melanie Cole, played by Lucy Hale. Now, Lucy Hale was also in Truth or Dare, so there's a connection there between the writer, director, and her. Also, she was Sherry in Scream 4, so not new to horror films. Another guest, Patrick Sullivan, played by Austin Stowell. Now, he was in Bridge of Spies and Whiplash. He has a very strong sort of soldier or policeman or fireman type look to him. So it's not surprising that he was also in 12 Strong and played roles like that. But he was also in Swallow, which I haven't seen yet, but I am looking forward to checking out. And again, in this one, he plays a cop who wants to be a soldier. Interesting. Also, our two brothers, Brax Weaver, played by Jimmy O. Yang, who was in Patriots Day and Crazy Rich Asians. In fact, he seems like somebody who was really into being like comedies and such like that. Maybe a stand-up even. But I didn't recognize him from much of anything. He is brothered with Ryan Hansen, who plays J.D. Weaver. They are essentially, stepbrothers, who you may know as Nolan from the Friday the 13th remake, or Dick Casablancas from Veronica Mars. Other people who who are also on the island but aren't necessarily guests who arrived on the original plane are Sloan Madison, played by Portia Doubleday. Now, Portia Doubleday, you may know from Youth and Revolt. Where I actually recognized her from the movie Her, or maybe Chris Hargensen character from Carrie, the 2013 Carrie, not the original Carrie. And then another famous face on there is just a guy who happens to be on the island, Damon, played by Michael Rooker. Yes, he is most known right now as Yondu from the Guardians of the Galaxy films, but he's also been in Slither, and he was Henry, the original Henry from Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. And I was surprised to see Kim Coates also has a part in this, the Kim Coates from Sons of Anarchy. Now, it's weird. This film was kind of what I expected, but at the same time not. I think it's really kind of watered down. I don't know what the rating is on this. 14A. I'm surprised by, I guess, the horrific images are really what drives it up to a 14A. It does have some kind of gory, mildly scary moments. But really, this doesn't play very well in terms of the scares. It is very much, like I say, dark fantasy more so than straight up horror. But at the same time, and honestly, there's a lot of action. I was quite surprised by the action adventure aspects of it. I get it's Fantasy Island and such, but that I guess tends towards a jungle type atmosphere. But yeah, it's funny. Leslie said she by the way, she gives it 2 stars, and her comment is that's not at all what she expected it to be. She still enjoyed it for what it was, but she was kind of expecting, I guess she saw the trailer, and she was kind of expecting that Fantasy Island was going to be about people living out their revenge fantasies. So that's what she kind of thought of it. And there is a revenge fantasy in the film, but I guess that's what she saw in the trailer, and that's what she thought the film was mostly about. But no, the fantasies are all over the place. Different fantasies of different types, but they are very much like, this is very much the genie story, right? The Fantasy Island is the lamp. You get your 3 wishes, but in this case, you get a fantasy. You pick your fantasy, but as is always, tends to be the case in these things, your fantasy may not be everything you expect it to be. It's the leprechaun. You get your 3, your wish, and those wishes may be, you got to word them very, very carefully. But there's always a negative aspect to it, right? Well, that is very much so in this case. And so it plays out, like all these fantasies, eventually go dark. They aren't quite, except for the revenge one. That one was kind of dark right from the beginning, but I guess it's all how you look at it. As the person doing the revenging, not so dark. But, yeah, it was, I think it could have been darker. I do think, there are twists. Again, like I said, they get dark, so there's a twist there. There's more twists. There's probably several twists throughout the film as to what's happening. But honestly, it's one of those things. Like I said, there's so many genres going on here. There's the fantasy aspect, there's the dark fantasy aspect, there's the horror aspect, there's the action and adventure aspects, there's There's just so much going on and so many different fantasies and trying to put them all together that I do think the eventual explanation to why everything is so dark and why everything is so horrific was a little weak, if I be honest. Um, it yeah, it almost like it felt like they had this whole idea of these fantasies and was writing all that, and then they were like, well, how can we bring these all together to have a climax and an ending, and then sort of, oh, excuse me, sorry, and then sort of tag that on at the end. Um, that being said, it's not a bad film. It's just, hey, again, like Leslie said, it's not what I expected, and I think it could have been better. Um, and in terms of things like the directing and the writing and the acting, I think a lot there wasn't. No, I don't think really anybody had their hearts in it. There wasn't any real drama. There wasn't any real emotion. There wasn't like there's just so much of the film is. It just kind of happens, and you can watch it. Oh man, I need more sleep. Yeah, it's easy to watch, and I guess on a technical standpoint, in terms of cinematography and sound and music and stuff, that's solid. Acting could have been better. Not that it's bad, but it's not, it's not great. Directing is subpar, but I think that might also have to do with the writing. It's too bad. They had this really, really gorgeous location, and I don't feel they really utilize it very well. There seemed to be quite a bit of I don't know, soundstage work and jungle, traipsing through the jungle area for a little bit, but I don't know. I really kind of wish it's almost like with Event Horizon did the same thing to me, where all of these fantasies, all of these things that are happening to all these different people. They just aren't. They aren't as dark as I was hoping. Right? I was hoping things would be a little. Oh man, more horrific, more horror, and less action adventure. Um, yeah, really, I think it's less action adventure because I think action and adventure do tend to swallow up a good portion of this film. Um, maybe he really wanted to make an action film, and this is what he had to go with. So he kind of, you know, shoved it in there, shoehorned it in there somehow, in order to make, to get what he wanted to do in the end. I don't know. I get a little bit of action adventure, but there's so much. There's so much happening in this. This is, it was, I don't know. It's hard. I can't really pinpoint what it is on first viewing as to what is the main failure with this film. But at an hour and 49 minutes, it is kind of long. Really. Considering what it is, there's not much there. But I guess with all the different fantasies, they kind of have to, you got to tell each story, so. Oh my gosh. I'm putting myself to sleep here, so I guess that pads it out. I don't know. But, my rating, I'm going to go 2.5 on this one. And recommend. This is the kind of film that if you just want something dumb to throw on and watch, you can do that. Maybe while you're doing laundry or something like that, you could throw it on there. It'd be okay. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it as being something that you should watch. Like you have to watch this film, but you could do a lot worse. So in that would be my recommendation, right? You could do a lot worse if if you're just looking for something, throw it on, whatever, go for it. Whatever. It's modern horror, but not the artsy fartsy one. Well, I'll put it that way. It's got no, like it doesn't have the rated R rating, man. Like it's a horror movie, and I don't know. If you want movies for kids and teenagers, man, go watch something else, because honestly, this is. I think they'd probably even watch it and go, meh. That was kind of boring. That wasn't as hardcore as I would have liked. No, I mean 14-year-olds, man, they want the rated R movies, man. They don't want this dumbed down type stuff. This is what the 10-year-olds want. I think honestly, I think that the rating system has killed movies. It's just not. We're just not getting what we need. So, but that's another discussion for another day. Comment down below if you saw the film, what you thought of it. Keep it spoiler free as much as possible. Thanks for watching. Till next video, take care. Have a good one.